Picky eaters. Do you have a picky eater at home? I think anyone who has a child at times probably has picky eating moments. Obviously, you know, they'll eat if they get hungry enough.
That's what everyone says anyway. But sometimes they really don't eat at all.
And you feel horribly guilty if they don't eat the food that you've prepared for them, that you know, you're malnourishing your child. So what are some of the tips and tricks that you've learned?
Well, that did hit a note, the you know, slogging for hours over a hot stove for your darling child, only for it all to be rejected. And they do say, don't they, all the dietitians, don't take the food away, make your child eat it if you take it away, but I do think it's really difficult. So what I found helps is getting your child involved with what they're making, which is easier when they're a little bit older.
Yeah.
Getting them involved in the whole cooking stage, so simple things like pizzas where you can put toppings on and you can cut up vegetables and have olives for eyes and make a face with a pepper mouth and a tomato nose. They're much happier, you know, doing that if they can spread the tomato puree on a base that you've just bought, the small little round ones that you can get, and then putting the cheese on top. I do think it works.
I agree. I think once they have that investment in making the food themselves, they're more likely to eat it and potentially encourage other children to eat it as well. But I mean, there's a few things that we've done at our house that doesn't work every time, but you know, it helps. You know, I'm afraid to say we resort to bribes occasionally. If you eat 4 bites of that and 1 piece of broccoli, we will let you have, you know, this time playing a game, or we'll let you have, you know, ice cream for dessert, or, you know, anything to get them going, you know, taking those extra steps. A story that my mom tells actually is my brothers hated to drink milk, just wouldn't do it. And she really, you know, wanted them to drink milk because at the time that was one of the things that, you know, you must do. You must give your children glasses of cow milk, and that's what's healthy for them. So she invented magic milk, which my brothers would beg and plead for. And what it was milk with food color. So she would do it when they weren't looking, and she would only do it as a big treat. Because they thought it was the most amazing thing. But she, in her mother-tested, sneaky way, got them to drink gallons and gallons of magic milk. And so, you know, that was one of her tips.
They drank it.
Yeah, they did. They loved it. They laugh about it now. But I'm sure they serve their boys magic milk as well.
Well, in fact, the French, when their kids are being weaned, that's how they wean them, is by putting fruit or vegetable purees into the milk, and so your baby still drinks their bottle.
Okay.
But it's been thickened with, you know, vegetable or fruit, so it turns it a different colour.
What do you think about that? The sneaking vegetables into foods. I mean, so like Jessica Seinfeld wrote that book about how to like sneak all these different vegetables into things that your kids love, like how to make macaroni and cheese more nutritious by putting in the purees.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, if you can be bothered to puree them and put them in, which would be the big thing for me, and provided they eat it, then great.
I feel like 2 ways about it. Like one, I feel good that they would be getting vegetables and things that they need, more nutrients, vitamins. But I also, if I'm feeding them macaroni and cheese and you know, chicken nuggets and things like that are typically unhealthy foods, but I've made a healthier version, I feel like I'm setting them up for failure later, because they'll be like, oh, macaroni and cheese, and when they're out and about or with their friends, and they'll make unwise food choices because I've given them the healthy version, and they you know, was being sneaky about putting the vegetables in, and they won't differentiate between a healthy version of mac and cheese and an unhealthy version.
But then I think on the other hand, number one, those unhealthy versions will taste so different to yours, they're probably not going to like them anyway.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're kind of used to the things that they're used to. in terms of your cooking. But secondly, I think the amount of things that you could kind of logistically sneak vegetables into anyway without them noticing are pretty is pretty narrow. I mean, I haven't read that book, so maybe there's, you know, every dish under the sun, but things like macaroni cheese, spaghetti bolognese, where you can put some extra little, you know, bits of broccoli into, or, you know, all the kind of saucy type things are much easier to get things into. But things like pieces of chicken, or, you know, lamb, all the kind of meaty plus vegetable things, you wouldn't really be able to do that. So I wouldn't be worried about it.
One of the most interesting sneaking vegetables and things I've heard lately is a friend of mine, her family, when they make brownies, they use the brownie mix, but instead of using the eggs and the oil, they replace it with a can of black beans, pureed black beans.
Ew, yeah.
She says it makes them really moist, very proteiny and nutritious. But then people can't tell the difference. That they don't miss the...
They probably feel quite bloated afterwards, like a bit windy after those brownies. Gassy brownies.
So, how do you guys feel about sneaking vegetables or more vegetables into your kids' food, and how do you deal with picky eaters? We'd love to hear what you do.
Or more recipes.
Or more recipes for gassy brownies, especially.